In 1841, the western frontier of the United States lay at the Missouri River. That year, 61 men, women, and children prepared to cross the continent in covered wagons. A young school teacher and a fur trapper helped to lead them on a 2,000-mile journey. As the Bidwell-Bartleson party set out across the Kansas Prairie, they were among the first of almost 500,000 pioneer immigrants. In 20 years, these immigrants would settle the western half of the United States, making it a nation from ocean to ocean. 160 years later, wagons once again roll across the Kansas Prairie.
The rattle of the wheels on the rocks and the peace. You don't have everybody honking their horns trying to get around. It's lovely.
Leave the makeup at home and all of the fancy clothes and get out here and get dirty and have a good time.
The total experience, the sound, the sights, the no airplanes, no jet streams, no phone wires, just being out there doing it. It's just a lot of fun.
Looking over the prairie, you get this sense of this vastness of this country, and going across it at a horse's walk or human's walk is just an unbelievable feeling. It just felt like we'd gone back 160 years.
Northeast Kansas is an open, tranquil land. In the 1840s through the 1860s, the silence of the prairie was broken by tens of thousands of people, animals, and wagons. From spring to early summer, a thin ribbon of civilization cut across an untamed land. With the completion of the railroad in 1869, the prairie once again fell silent. 120 years later, a small business owner and his wife decided it was time again to hear the sound of wagons on the Kansas Prairie. Ken and Arleta Martin organized their first reenactment in 1993. Since then, half a dozen wagon trains have traveled a 100-mile stretch of Kansas Prairie. Ken and Arleta start a year and a half in advance by selecting a route that approximates the original Emigrant Trail. The original route of the trail was generally determined by the terrain and the availability of food and water. Immigrants had no room to carry food or water for livestock in their wagons. They followed rivers and streams, traveling from one to the next, hoping to end each day at a place where their animals could eat and drink. Today, the trail in Kansas runs through private property. Living off the land is not practical or appropriate. The Martins make a slight departure from historical accuracy for the sake of the livestock and out of courtesy to the landowners. The features of the land also determined the route of the trail. Two barriers had to be avoided: marshy lowlands where wagons or animals could get stuck, and any kind of side angle where top-heavy wagons could tip over. For these reasons, the trail followed ridgetops whenever possible. When it became necessary to go up or down, the way to go was usually straight up and straight down. Today, there are new barriers that did not exist in pioneer times. Early on, Ken begins to obtain permission from landowners.
I got about 35 landowners that we're going through cross country. These landowners have been superb. Today they was out there with us down in their creek watching us go through. They've helped us open gates. They've gotten their cattle out early just in some cases where They didn't want their cattle to bother us.
Before the wagon train begins, school children in Topeka get a front row view of pioneer life. Wagon train participants arrive early at the State History Center for a living history demonstration. While the weather keeps everyone indoors, this is not a typical classroom session. Kids get to really feel what it was like to be a pioneer.
Can you still breathe? No, not very well.
Kids learn what life was like before computer keyboards or even pencils. Food tastes a little different when it's not from a store. Things that are quick and simple to do today took a long time back then. Road maps contained more than just directions.
Got guidebooks, and it would tell them what to buy when they were on the trail.
Some fashions of the 1840s may look a little unusual, but they offered a lot of protection out on the trail.
This would protect the back of your neck from getting sun, too.
The weather clears in time to get ready for tomorrow's wagon train excursion. There's a lot to do. Vehicles made of wood and iron require lots of maintenance. There's a concern that the wagons might get stuck in the rain-soaked ground. This was also a concern for the immigrants. They had to wait for the ground to harden after the winter snowmelt before starting their journey. And they had to wait for forage to grow to feed their animals. Fortunately for the Martin party, Kansas sod is pretty tough. The rendezvous point for the wagon train is about 20 miles from the History Center. That's a whole day's travel by wagon on a good day. Staying on schedule requires a little assistance from modern transportation. The starting point for the wagon train is the Oregon Trail Road in Potawatomi County. The road got its name because it sits on top of the original trail. Ken and Arlita greet the participants as they arrive and get them ready for tomorrow's venture. Friendships form easily on the trail. Many who rode together on previous trips are eager to get reacquainted, but they don't have much time. Preparations must be made for tomorrow's early morning departure. Participants have traveled many miles from 8 surrounding states. There's a lot to do. Everyone pitches in. Men and women even take turns being in charge.
That's the squeak. Set the brake. These women is so bossy.
It's that prairie air.
The prairie air also gets pretty cold at night. It's early October. A warm breakfast on this occasion is quite welcome. In pioneer days, most families cooked for themselves, gathering what they could from the land. Catered meals from a modern mess wagon are just a little more practical on this trip. There's still plenty to do to get ready. Preventative maintenance is important. Breaking down on the trail means getting left behind. For some, looking good on the trail is just as important. Gary prepares his mules for harnessing. Harnessing a team of animals is a labor-intensive process that must be done with care. The wagons on this trip are each pulled by one team of horses or mules. Many of the pioneers used oxen. With heavier loads and a much greater distance to travel, they also used more animals to pull their wagons. In pioneer times, Gary would have had a lot more work to do. The pioneers were usually ready to roll at the first light of day. Theirs was a life or death race against time. They had to cross the mountains in the west before winter set in. Today it's past 8:30, and the wagons have yet to roll, although some are getting a little anxious. 2 scouts escort the first wagon away from camp. Lead scouts keep the wagon train on course, while others ride drag to look after the rear.
So there's about 6 or 8 scouts, and just keep things going, kind of, and anybody has trouble with team or harness or anything like that breaks down, we try to help them get going, patch it up and get going. Keep the outriders caught up with things so they're with the group and not dragging back.
After a mile on an improved road, the party veers north into pastureland. Time is now turned back to 1841. Wagons and riders are in the footsteps of the Bidwell-Bartleson party. Their speed of about 2 miles an hour will take them 5 days to complete about 100 miles. Most of the land they cross is much the same as it was 160 years ago.
We came through a section of tall grass prairie that was absolutely pristine. The grass was as tall as the horse's eyes, and if you'd been on foot, it would have been way over your head. And to see pasture land that's been allowed to go back to native prairie is really a wonderful thing, because there's not much of it left. Sometimes you just look around and you think, this is exactly how it would have been for them. They would have seen what we see. Sometimes it gives you a little jolt, you know.
After a few miles of tall grass prairie, the wagon train comes to an abrupt halt.